Welcome to this Mastery Empowerment course brought to you by New Earth One. I'm Loren Gailey, and I'm so pleased today to talk with Sheryl Noday, who's a channel, and she has something very special to share about this connection with the higher self, always in charge. Let's welcome Sheryl. Hi, Sheryl.
I am thrilled. It's always a joy to spend time with you to talk about one of my favorite topics, if not my favorite topic. So I am delighted. Thank you for having me. Let's go. Let's start on this delicious topic.
Yes, what a beautiful topic. The higher self really is the way forward to New Earth. When we know the phrase or hear the phrase from our spiritual teachers that say, you know what you know, what you know, this is a connection that facilitates that knowing. And when we tune into the higher self, we are given solutions and so many answers. And with that, the peace, the freedom, the happiness that we all seek. So we're going to jump right into this. Why don't you go ahead and share with us a little bit about the incredible background, because your higher self has been guiding you this whole way as well.
Many, many years ago, I think it was the early 80s, it might have been 1983, I was doing a workshop with Lazarus. And Lazarus was talking very emphatically about spend some time with your higher self tonight. And I took that very literal. And here I was, I don't know, maybe 23 years old, 22 years old. And I was in my hotel room and I decided to really make it very real. And so I asked my higher self to come and have dinner with me. And I ordered two dinners. I set the table for two. And I set a time. I opened the door for her when she arrived. And I really made this very, very, very physical. And as we were eating together, this is a practice that I've maintained that when I ask my higher self a question, I always remain silent to receive the answer. So when we were talking, it wasn't that I was just talking, talking, talking. I would say, "How was your meal?" And then go inside and sit and relax and be silent to receive the answer. Well, this went on for a normal amount of eating time, what, an hour and a half. And then I became very tired. And I thanked her very much for coming and opened the door, goodbye, etc. The next day in the workshop, it was break time. And I had this insatiable desire to run downstairs, not knowing why. I wasn't hungry, I didn't need anything, but just following that flow of energy. So I ran downstairs to find myself in a little store that was selling snacks and things. My eye goes directly to this set of cards. And I look at these cards and I thought, wow, this is the same image I had in my meditation yesterday. I pick it up and the card inside says, "Thanks for dinner. It was great." And I want you to know I have that with me to share. This, I have it in a frame. I've had this frame for years. So here's the cat that appeared in my meditation. And inside, I'd have to pull it out to show you in cursive writing, feminine cursive writing, "Thanks for dinner. It was great." So what I want to share, it is real. Our higher self is not a fantasy or we use our imagination to get to our higher self, to embody the higher self. We use that as our fuel, but the higher self is real. It is just as real as you and I talking now, just as real as the chair that I'm sitting on. And we don't come here with many guarantees. We have a lot of exploration, but one guarantee that's wired within our DNA is our higher self. And all we have to do is stretch just a little bit, just a little bit. And so imagine a world in which we immediately recognize the higher self in each other. We have the capability of doing that right now when everything's kind of thrown up in the air. We're hearing this from so many, from scientific points of view. We're hearing this from metaphysics. We're hearing this from people. It's the great healing time to go in to correct. Some people use the word fix. Some people use the word heal to make it how we want. Why not bring that omnipresent, the highest self of us into the earth plane? just to recognize, Loren, you look beautiful today. Your higher self is all around you. You have been spending time with your higher self. I see it. It shows in your expression, in your eyes. And if we can recognize this in everyone we talk to, imagine what a world it would be. I mean, it really brings tears to me because it is so real. It's and a lot of people are talking about it, and I'm so grateful for that. So I think that we have these stories. If anybody's listening, you have these great stories, share them, talk about them. Just don't leave them in a journal. Talk about it, like, wow, I had this experience with my higher self. That's what makes it real, is the talking, the sharing. And people know that, hey, I have a higher self too, and I want to experience that.
Yes, I love it. The sharing actually gives us those tangible results. I love how you followed the flow of your higher self and just went for it, right? That's the allowance, the allowance. And you didn't judge it like, no, you don't get to eat anything or whatever. You just followed it, right?
Right, right. I,
And
I love sharing that story because I want everybody to know it is so real. Spend time with your higher self. Spend time with your inner child. Make it as real as you possibly can. If you're taking your inner child on a walk in the park, hold that child's hand. Spend time. Make it real because it is real. It absolutely is real. So we are multidimensional beings. We're moving into that we state of consciousness of acknowledging, hey, the person we were when we were growing up is very much still part of us. We've grown, of course, and we're going to grow more, and we're going to grow more. Those future selves and that higher self and the matrix of who we are is so phenomenal. It's like a kaleidoscope. When spirit looks at us, they're seeing the whole enchilada. And so many times we're looking at just, hey, this reality is the most potent. No, not at all. We have a dream reality. We have other realities that are just as real as the reality that we're in right now, talking with each other. So why not choose the reality that really turns you on in life?
yes, absolutely. Okay, perfect. So recognizing the higher self in others, we are being given a chance to do that in this pandemic. And so we're going to have you channel a message. You channel the Syrian family,
Okay.
and we're going to talk more about the myths of channeling. But let's talk about recognizing the higher self in others. This is powerful to communicate and actually shift the energy flow. That's why we've talked about the Ho'oponopono, the thank you, I love you, please forgive me, I'm sorry, to another person in written form, like in an email if someone feels wronged. That is part of the higher self coming in to work it and fix it. So, do you want to share anything more about recognizing the higher self in others, really removing judgment, all judgment? And this is an interesting time to remove judgment of others, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Well, in your sharing there about when someone has done something inaccurate or that they feel badly about, or there's guilt all over, soaring all over the room, or someone has betrayed or failed in some way. It, I think that we're moving to a time, if we could just begin to start the conversation about reminding them of their beauty, reminding them of their love, reminding them of the phenomenal person they are is going to be far more healing instead of reminding them of the day that they were out of those energies. See, so to remind each other, and it truly, truly can be a stretch, especially if we are hurt. Now, when we get in pain, when we are hurt, and we are human, we are people, we are going to feel these energies. This is where a beautiful time to call upon the higher energies in it and to say, how did I move through this? What was the golden ticket that I was able to move through this pain, uh, metaphorically, spiritually, emotionally, mentally? And the higher self, since it's you, is going to know exactly how you move through it and give it to you. So we're doing our quote unquote work. I like to call it play, self-discovery. We're doing our self-evaluation, but we can also say, I've done so much more that I can do. Will you take the rest for me? The higher self, boom, yeah, absolutely. And it's wonderful to experience people in meditation that will tell me afterwards, wow, my higher self took this energy and and it was like a cocoon the way that they were moving their hands. And I said, well, have you thought about maybe exploring healing? So you witnessed that that's your higher self. There might be something in there for you. So our higher self is our greatest cheerleader too. And yeah, I think we're at a time right now. We could all use a little cheerleader going on, right?
Absolutely. And discernment, and the higher self will give us that discernment. We can tune into that, and so we're gonna talk a little bit more about that. You know, you were mentioning a couple of things there, and we can literally, when we ask our higher self, right, like you said, we can ask our higher self. It's our best friend, and it can infuse us with energy. And when we make that connection, we're given great wisdom. So, what do you say for, we're going to talk about channeling other beings, but when we talk about channeling our higher self, what would you recommend for that? Some people would like to journal, some, do you suggest to keep notes of it so that we always have it? What would you
I love
recommend?
that. I love keeping notes on things because I think it's a great personal memoir for someone. When you have a fantastic meditation and you want to remember what happened, you can infuse those energies. But also, if you take it, jot it down a little bit, and then close that book and look at it later, you're going to find that profound wisdom there. And in that way, people get very excited, go, wow, I didn't, this thing was going on in my life, this situation at work, this is going on in my family. It was a highly stressful time. All my planets were squaring. And then I sat down, I did a little bit of writing. And now when I look back at it, a couple weeks, a month, a year later, boy, it was right there. So I want people to know that we are wired to channel, you guys. We really are. It's what we're doing in today's day and age is nothing different than the ancients did. You know, when and they talk about it, and there's great paintings written about it that angels flew in the room, and someone just absolutely knew. So there's a lot of ways to receive information via the higher self is a fantastic way to connect, and I want to say is not less in any way, shape, or form than connecting to a being, an angel, a being from the planet, whatever you want to call it. Your higher self is a beautiful thing to channel. Now, did you want me to go on the channeling aspects now?
Yeah, beautiful. Yes. I mean, the higher self is a beautiful being to channel. And is the gatekeeper or the guardian, I mean, is the protectant over other beings.
We certainly have that. So, mentioning the gatekeeper. So, here we go. Uh, we connect to the higher self. How does one connect to the higher self? It's real important to get into the position. When you see anybody channel, you never see them kind of like this or their arms crossed. Everybody's really sitting up straight. And the reason for that is because the body is a connection. And it immediately says to the subconscious, something different is going to happen. You don't sit like this when you're having dinner. You might sit like this whenever I'm going to be going into trance, or when I'm having a very passionate discussion where I'm connecting with someone, but I'm still conscious. The feet on the floor, the back is straight. It prepares for an antenna. Boom, an antenna. The chakras are all open. This is the position, by the way, of Isis, the Great Mother, the receiver. We see this all through Egyptian hieroglyphics. I'm facing you, but if I were to turn to my side, you would see a straight line. You would see the hips sitting down, and then the knees go out. So a straight vertical line, then the knees going out, then down. Straight, vertical, down. That's the position of Isis. So when you see that in hieroglyphics, it's talking about receiving the highest energy. So we prepare ourselves. We want to help ourselves. We want to be in that position of receiving. You can do whatever you want with your hands. You can leave your hands open to receive. You can put them like this. You don't want to close them. Be open. And I love putting the hand on the heart. This immediately calms people, no matter what kind of day that you have had. Even if you're highly stressed, a lot of demands being made upon you, this is the greatest rejuvenation. Hand on the heart. We must quiet ourselves, and a great way to do that is to find your heartbeat. See, within a second, finding my heartbeat, I've already connected to myself. Very aware of what's happening out there, but this heart beats just for you. And it's so beautiful. And now that I'm connected to myself, I'm going to, with my heart and with my mind, which is the greatest distance one will travel in life, right? Which is all about 13 inches. This is the greatest distance between the heart and the mind. With this combination, I find the balance and I call to my higher self. And it will be different for everyone. We must not compare at all. No one can, please don't compare yourself. Whatever happens with you and your higher self is so unique as your own thumbprint. Now, I can give some examples, but I don't want to color it for you. Because someone might say, well, if that I didn't feel that, and then start to feel they're not doing anything right. No, when you invite in your higher self, and you feel your own heartbeat, and it is with that love, and you invite in your higher self, whatever you feel is right. Whatever you feel is right. You don't have to ask anybody, oh, I felt this or this, but trust that what you feel is right. Begin that trust and that self-love. You might get very emotional. You might feel very powerful. Maybe you'll feel nothing, and that's all right. And that higher self will come in. And then you can, for those of you that are really interested in writing, there's been some beautiful things with the higher self that come on our planet, right? Have yourself your pen and paper. And if it's inspired, what did Eckhart Tolle say? He says, my books are not channeled, guys, but they're inspired. Because he was present, dotting all the I's, crossing the T's, and rereading them, but it was really inspired. You can get ideas to make an inspired dinner. Yeah, it's okay to say I was with my higher self and I got this great idea for this dinner that served my family, that brought my family to this wonderful place. You know, what was that movie, like Water for Chocolate, where she fell in love with it? She was stirring the chocolate. She was so in love with what she was doing, and everybody in the whole city fell in love. That would be another idea of the higher self, and you bet we certainly do need that now. So whenever you're connecting with the higher self, please do not feel that it is anything less, because your guides will bring you to that place of your higher self anyway, because that is one of their jobs. Our guides do have jobs, and one of them is to bring us, oh, I get so emotional, to bring us to the master within. Okay? So you've got this phenomenal higher self and a lot of future selves that are part of the higher self as well. And let's say in your channeling, that's where you want to land. That's where you want to be with your higher self. Well, you create an invitation. It's very similar to what we like what Lorraine and I did. We had several conversations on our time, on our date, and we went back and forth. And then we come up with an idea. It's the same with the higher self. It's another physical representation of you. Higher self, are you available to meet with me in the mornings? And then you wait to get the response. Even if you think you know the response, let's practice good communication. Drop back down and you will know in your body. Do not, friends, let yourself get caught up in hearing things and then dismiss it if you didn't. The higher self will come through in any way. And our higher selves are creative, by the way. You might have a book fall off of your bookshelf. You might get an idea like I did with getting my card. I have to go down to the store. I be right back. I got to go down to the store. You might feel I need to really go shopping. And you get there, it's like, this is what the higher self is guiding you to get some water because you're dehydrated. It can be as simple or magnificent. And what I see people do is that if their higher self did not come through and give life-changing information, change the planet, people are going to dismiss it. No, your higher self might give something very simple like you're dehydrated. Might give something very simple like this system needs to have these particular vitamins. So we do not judge at all. And we receive all that we can. And it is a relationship. When you meet someone that you really, really like and you really want to get to know, isn't that process of getting to know them beautiful? We call it dating. We call going to the movies with our friends and getting to know them as beautiful. Well, you've got a higher self that you can get to know for the rest of your life. And as you grow, the higher self grows. See, they don't stay constant. They're going to be growing because the light is forever. The light is forever. So we've come here in these physical bodies to remember we are light, and this is our planet, and no being from anywhere else is going to come and tell us how to do this planet, but they are going to come and love us and guide us and perhaps look in this direction, perhaps look over here. The higher self will say, yeah, we agree with that. And then you look over there because it's our growth and it's our planet. So it's just really beautiful. The higher self is the foundation, the backbone to channeling. That omnipresent self is called in, invited in first. The next step is to ask the higher self, are you my gatekeeper? And many times the higher self does take on that role of gatekeeper, and oftentimes they bring in another. It's both. It is both. I've seen it both. Friends, if your higher self is your gatekeeper, relish and enjoy that. It's not that anything is wrong. Oh, there needs to be somebody else. It's unique to you. It is unique to you. The higher self can certainly act as gatekeeper, let me tell you. But if another one comes in, then you ask your higher self, just like you have a date with your friend and someone else comes. Oh, how wonderful that you're here. I didn't know you were coming. The friend says, oh, this friend had something to offer what we were doing tonight. See, it's communication back and forth. We're all a Syria family. Lois is coming from Syria family that I'm just repeating from them over the years of educating us on how to communicate. It's slow. It's nurturing, and with love, it demands us to slow down a little bit. So here we are in the beginning stages of connecting. These steps are not to be missed. It's not like, well, I really want to channel an angel. That's great. Keep that desire, but we cannot miss these steps. These set the foundation. This creates the platform for many reasons. Safety, foundation, grounding, but also intellectually, we know what we're doing. You see, we know what we're doing. We're not just some airy fairy, whoa, I can't talk about it, just do it. No, you know who you are, and you know how to do this, because metaphysics is a physics. And I promise you, it's going to be taught in schools in our lifetime. Look, 20 years ago, yoga was only for, a few people. It's all, everybody's yoga, it's all over the place, Look, 20 years ago, how many people were a life coach? You didn't really hear that too often. Now it's everywhere. It's wonderful. And it's going to be the same with channeling. It might have a different word. It might be in communications with the unseen. It might have a different word, but we're going to see, it's already at UCLA right now, interdimensional communication. Kevin Ryerson, one of the first, and is he a psychologist? I don't know. I don't want to say, but he has some sort of degree in that way, and a phenomenal channel of I forget who he channels, but, but
That's fascinating. So it's at the university level.
yes, yes.
Yes.
So
Okay.
this is real. This is real. It's not just what, I don't want.
It's not just
I've
woo
had
woo.
oh no, 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 no,
Yes.
no, no. And so that's why, we have these practical applications where we can talk to people where someone says, well, gosh, how did your meditation go? Or how did you make that connection with your higher self? And you could say, well, it's not exactly like math because we use a different part of our brain, but there is a process and you can do it too. We support each other. We support each other in connecting with the higher self. And then it keeps growing and growing and growing. But I want to stress upon, it's not like the higher self is nothing. The higher self is the first step, like our root chakra. Our root chakra is important. It's not like it's the last one down there. It supports all the other ones. When that root is off, yeah, the other ones are going to be off too. So our higher self is our foundation. So higher self, yes, can act as gatekeeper, in many cases will, and sometimes will bring a gatekeeper in. And what I like to tell people is ask, communicate. The higher self might say there's a very specific frequency that this one holds. You see? So we ask, we communicate, we talk in a very gentle, loving, receiving. See, my body's already changing just by the changing of my speech.
Very, very interesting. Okay. As we build this connection with the higher self, I love that you say ask because we do hypnosis sessions with people to connect with the higher self.
Yeah.
And when we say what can this person do, every answer is ask. Slow down, like you said, slow down, meditate and ask. So that's beautiful.
And we
So
in a world that everything's really amped up, and there's a desire within all of us to have it right now. Sure.
yes.
There's a desire within all of us, like, hey, I've worked so long, I've done this so many times, I really want this now. So, and I understand that completely, and certainly I would have some of those energies as well. But when we get into the, like, wait a minute, we didn't rush the baby to growing inside of us. We didn't plant the seed out in the garden that says, would you please make the flower now because I need you this weekend. You see, we must have that patience and that allowance, and it's a gift to the self to say, hold on, you're going to get this. So that's a given for everyone. Connect to your higher self every single day. Spend the day with your higher self. If you forget, and like you're running to the train or running for things, just kind of slow it down and say, I forgot you were with me. And play a little bit, use your imagination. Remember my time with my dinner with my higher self. Back then, everybody was like, what's she doing now? you know? But here, many years later, people still ask me to talk about your card. You still have your card. So it's really real. It's not just us wanting to make something real. It is real.
I love that you have the card, that you bought the card, that you framed it, and you just knew, right? That excitement inside is the flow, and you followed it. So that's a really good key. All right, so now let's move into talking about channeling and trance channeling, because that's a whole little mini subject right there. You mentioned gatekeeper. Some may not understand what that is, but the gatekeeper is a vital um, point when we're trance channeling, because there are some who say, are you giving up your body? Is someone coming in? So explain that for us and maybe talk about things to watch out for or how to know that we're completely safe and that we're getting the correct information, that we can trust that information.
It's a symbiotic relationship with self-love and self-trust. Absolutely. This is why we grow. This is why we look at those aspects of ourselves. Some call it shadow. I call it the parts of our, I call it shadow too, but the parts of ourself that are still hurting inside. What happened? What happened that would be painful, that would be where there's some betrayal, because it does come up in the channeling process, because there's trust. So there, let me go into this and really break it down. The role of the gatekeeper, if it's higher self, our new being that has come in, spreads their energy around you, and it's almost like a light. When we trance channel, we have a relationship with that being. I am the channel for Syria family. I have a relationship with them that's been cultivated for since the beginning of time, and I've channeled them in other lifetimes. Wow, this is such a juicy topic, and there's so much. When a person does not trance channel, let's talk about that, because sometimes people will call me and say, I already channel. And what's happening is, yes, that's a form of channeling. You have a mental connection with a guide, a particular guide. The guide is not coming into your energy field. The guide can be feeling like they're next door, but you have a mental connection. I hope that that's making sense. They're not anywhere near coming around the physical. The conscious channel in that way is very aware, but can get information through one energy sphere called the mind, and it's a mental connection. I'm hearing this, I'm sensing this, I have this message for you. That's what we call that is relay channeling, or a telepathic communication. The word channeling has become very much in vogue, sadly, and it's because it distorts it. Well, I went into the kitchen and I thought that I was going to make this, and I whipped out this. I must have been channeling it. Okay, that's fun. What's fun? It's kind of like what we did to yoga. We've now turned it into the gyms, and you do 25 downward dogs, which was not what the original yogis intended. The original yogis intended to reach a state of nirvana, when you get the body in particular structures and breathing, and you reach a state of nirvana. We don't do that in our gyms. We do as many downward dogs as we can, as many planks as we can. So the word channeling has become overused and a little bit misused. Who was it? Noah, when he stood in front of the burning bush and he received the 10 Commandments, and I'm not going to get all religious, because I'm not, but that just came to my mind. It was a telepathic rapport that he was having. And some people still go by those 10 Commandments. God appeared, he spoke to me, or whatever. I don't really know that much about the whole religious story, but you understand what I'm saying here. It was a stream of consciousness that came to him, and he went and wrote down what he received. So writing is very important, you guys. I give a lot of value to all the journals I've had over the years. And I would encourage you to do that. So that is a form of channeling. Relay, it's all the mind. In trance channeling, you get a chance to hear the being and feel their personality and to feel their energy. It is an energy transmission, and it is extremely powerful. Now, please, I'm not saying it's any better than anything else. I'm just describing it for you guys so you know what you're doing. I want to make that really clear. I'm not saying it's better than anything else. Just like a painting is not better than a great movie or a great body of work. But we know when we're looking at a painting, and we know when we're looking at a great body of written work, and we know when we go to a movie. And it's the same thing in our metaphysical, in our unseen world. So when a person trance channels, that channel steps aside. They have to bring in another consciousness. When I'm channeling Syria family, I am not present. It would be like sitting downstairs against the tree and watching what's happening upstairs. I can't participate, but I'm aware something's happening there. When I'm in trance with Syria family, I can't say, don't say that to Loren. Otherwise, I would break the trance. And so it's this dance, it's this movement. where the channel, for those that want to trance channel, the backbone for that is that you learn to step aside in the comfort of your higher self and your gatekeeper. And that is a tool that when people really begin to step aside and that spirit speaks through them, it is like nothing else. And it's beautiful when you're speaking to a being, you get to know you're speaking to their personality. And the language, the vocal part of it, there's so much that can get lost, actually. But the energy doesn't. The energy is coming through, and people are just, they're getting aha moments, or, I didn't even ask this question, but yet they knew, or I felt it. And that's because this energy is coming that is so big, and it changes itself, it morphs itself to be physical as we stretch. You see, as we stretch, this is so much part of it. As we stretch, how do we stretch? Healing and self-evaluation. And are we willing to let go of those hurts and those pains and those guilts and those sabotages? Are we willing to say, you know what, I've carried you around for a while and I've learned from you? And to transform those. A lot of people are talking about this, taking the inner child and going back and saying what needed to be said, or listening to that child. Sometimes the adult will say, I don't need to listen to my child. I know what happened. Listen to that child. Let it come through, that little girl, that little boy, and you watch the miracles that change in your life. These are why the guides come. They do not come to live our life. They would have incarnated themselves. I get very emotional talking about this. They come to heal, to love. And they never tire of telling us that. They come to heal, they come to love. Now, there are many, many guides. A lot of the archangels are really, really, really popular right now, and that's awesome. And those guides are guides to humanity. Doesn't mean that you can't channel them. Doesn't mean you can't have a phenomenal relationship with Mother Mary or Archangel Michael. You can have a phenomenal relationship with them, which is interesting because they're coming to many. They're guides to humanity. But our higher self is just for us. And our gatekeeper is usually very personal too. That's, again, very individual. Let's say your gatekeeper comes and it's a being that you happen to recognize. Again, you're my gatekeeper, but yet I recognize who you are, and you begin a conversation. Tell me why you come. With wonderment, a state of curiosity. Gatekeepers can stay with you for a lifetime, and just to confuse things, they might stay for a couple of weeks, because just as we have a lot of friends, so is this, you guys. So is this. So is this. So yes, it does keep us on our toes. What I share with everyone, if you get a name, great, but let's not get hung up on that, because we've gotten so hung up on that in our world. We would never call somebody, just breathe over the phone. We announce, hi, it's Sheryl. Hi, it's Loren. But there was a time where we would recognize frequency. And the guides are teaching that about, wait a minute, you have this. Wait a minute, you have this. So when a guide comes, tune in. Oh, I felt this. Oh, I'm seeing this. Is this your signature? And then they might come up with a name after you're growing in everything, because after all, that's what it is about. Syria family did not give a name for years. They were nameless. They were nameless.
Okay. I love how so you set and we establish this and we set aside and let this, we set aside our conscious mind and let spirit speak through us, or this energy. So when you begin to recognize the frequency or work with the energies that come through, what can go on? What do you feel in your body? Do you hear ringing in the ears, pressure in the head? How are some of the people that you teach and work with,
All of
how do
that.
they
It,
report
it
back?
can, okay, I can give you some, it can be It can be all of that. So first of all, friends, who's ever listening, let's be open to the universal ideas of how spirit can communicate. Some people feel a gentle wind. Some people might feel a coolness come into their body. Some people feel a lot of heat come into their body. But they become a given is that they just feel love. Okay? Unconditional love. We're learning this as a species. We're not there yet. Goodness sake, we are not there, but that's one of our goals, to be unconditionally loving. And yet the guides come with this. And what blows people's minds is they didn't even have to work for it. What do tears begin to come if they're so loved. So why would anybody want to channel? That's a good reason right there. It's part of our growth. It's part of our growth. It's a rewiring of the brain. There's so much that scientists don't know about the brain, but yet at UCLA, they are doing experiments that say when a person goes into trance and a being is talking, the wires went out. Something is happening in the brain. And so when we're trance channeling, the beings come close by invitation. By invitation. They don't come in. I did a session the other day and someone said to me, well, I've always thought that trance channels, the beings always, they could just read my mind. And Syria family came in and said, no, and we wouldn't care to. Those are your thoughts. Excuse me, something was going on with the iPad back there. They're getting close. No, they don't come in and do things like that. They don't come in and read somebody's mind. That's an invasion, for goodness sake. They would never do that. They would ask. But no, they don't come in and read someone's mind or snoop around and see what somebody's doing in their bedroom, in their back room. No, for goodness sake, these are high vibrational beings, all of them, that come here for us, for love, and come close when they are invited, period. When they are invited. Now let's talk about that for a moment, because it's important, guys, in channeling that you want to be grounded too. You just don't want to, be like, oh, I'm invited in all these energies and now I can't spend my day. No, in the position I shared with you earlier in sitting down, you invite in your higher self always. And if there is a gatekeeper or a higher self acting as gatekeeper, there is that invitation that is made. And you can spend moments, weeks, years, or your lifetime just in that connection. It's that powerful. But let's say you're one that's curious and you'd like to experience something else out there. You dialogue with your higher self. Is there a being that I am ready, that I will allow to come close to my energy field? Because it's all about you as a channel and asking these, and I truly mean that. As a channel, in doing it the way that I'm sharing it with you, you have more power than you realize. And that higher self and that gatekeeper, they're not going to let any live wire around. That's not what it's about. Channeling is truly about love. And if you're one that is channeling with healing, like Syria family and I do, sometimes they bring individuals that have crossed over that are in tremendous pain. And there's work that is done on that soul, and most of the time it's a pre-agreement that I've made with that soul afterwards. When I tell you, when spirit and human meet together, things that can be done will blow your mind, I am not kidding you at all. Spirit needs us just as much as we need our spirit. I'll repeat that. Spirit needs us, because as they are non-physical, they need to have a grounding force, don't they? And that's called a channel. And we anchor them and then give voice. So after we have channeled, and each and every time after I always channel, there's always a thank you that I say. I never take it for granted, although I always know they're going to show up. And when we come back, and this is something I teach in the classes, we don't prepare people to be all woo-woo and gaga, not knowing what's going on. No. Take your hands, up them. Take those hands, rub them together, and gently touch yourself. Squeeze your arm gently. Get that blood flowing again. Squeeze your arm gently. Use your hands squeezing the arm. We've done this for years in classes. As people get in their cars and drive an hour and sometimes 2 hours, you do not leave the class airy-fairy at all. You leave grounded in your knowing. Take your hands, squeeze your knees. Just take a moment. Squeeze the body. Take your hair. I'm alive. I am awake and feeling fantastic. And then you go have your day. And you had that rich experience. You can write it down, so you might want to look at it later. You might want to draw it out if we've got a few artists listening to us, or maybe you're a musician. Maybe you're inclined to get a musical instrument and you want to express yourself. And then you go have your physical day. Or you can do it later. Sometimes I like to do my connections at midnight, believe it or not. So these are practical applications for everyone.
Mhm.
I hope I didn't go too far off the left field.
Thank you for that. That was a mini course in channeling and a beautiful overview on the entire process and what goes on.
I
And
hope
it's
I didn't go too
amazing.
far off in left field.
No, we love it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And this connection, again, it all begins with that higher self. So that's beautiful. I want to say that you're going to channel Syria family for just a moment. And there's a couple of things that people can do with you. We in the future we'll be teaching, we've taught this in the past, a 4-part channeling course, a voice channeling course. So that's coming up again. That's to be determined on the date.
We'll do
Those
that.
details will come. And also the open forum is a very, very fun gathering online. We're going to hear a channeling with the Syria family, but the open forum allows people to ask their questions and
Exactly.
to receive the specific messages. That's really cool.
So I
And
can
then
share a
one,
little bit about that. If anybody's going to want to know what we do in an open forum, we meet very much like this. I will always address everyone first. I'll always be there to greet everyone as myself, Sheryl. And then when we're all present, I'll explain that I'm going to go into trance. I'll explain what begins to happen. There's toning that Syria family loves to do. It's the resonance of Sirius that they're bringing into our. It's for everyone. It's nothing that I'm using to go deeper. It's for people. It's to use that frequency. And they will read the energy, the group energy. They'll read it, what the group energy is bringing in, and they'll talk about that for everyone. And then there's questions that people have a lot on that topic. I like to ask people to have the topic really be about your growth, because then you get some help with that, or something that you want to create, want to know why I didn't, or what's going on, or how can I move through this, a betterment of your life. And that's what these beings come for, is to give you that boost. They don't come to boost themselves, to give you that boost, to maybe look in this direction. And then there's always a meditation that concludes, in which the higher self is involved, and taking you to meet that higher self. And this is something that your higher self, again, is growing. So if you say to me, well, I've already met my higher self, that's great. Let's continue meeting and continue seeing. And when you're in love with someone, the love changes and grows. And you remember the first time that you met them and you love them, and then you love them even more. So it's really about love. I know it's about information and communication and all that. That's great too. But it's really about love. And Syria family asks people a lot, how much love are you willing to receive today? How much love can you crack yourself open to be loved? And then take that love and to be bold with it out into the world. Don't wait for someone to love you. Don't wait to see if it's safe. Just just love everyone and everything. And then you will be doing exactly what you came here for.
Thank you, Cheryl. You were channeling even before we began the channeling. Thank you. All right,
I
so
am
the
very
beings of
sensible of
light.
talking about it.
Syria family are beautiful beings of light, and you're going to channel them. So thank you for that. I love as well that your open forum is that connection with the higher self.
Yes.
Anytime we can make that connection, any and every time, it's just so beautiful. And like we've learned, that connection gets stronger. And when we hear the voice of the higher self, we're like, I've heard that voice before. And we begin to just understand it better and cultivate it even more. So that's beautiful. Another thing before we get to the channeling is I want to share about your special offer. Everything we've talked about here is on this page with the special offer. You do soul portraits. You are an artist, and this is your higher self coming through in a higher self to higher self personal session that is a session with a portrait. It is absolutely healing and multidimensional. And this is such a beautiful treat. I'm getting chills just talking about it because you've witnessed such deep levels of healing as you're communicating. So share with us what happens. We already have a question. Is this over the phone or is it over Zoom, Skype? And what happens there?
Well,
Because
we'll,
they
we'll
get a
do
physical
something
portrait.
visual, you guys. We'll tune in like this. We could do it over the phone. But what I meet with someone, there's always an energy exchange. So I'll do energy work. And yes, I am conscious. I don't go into trance. I'm with my higher self. And there's an immediate just tuning in. And the vision will come to me. Sometimes it lands right on the paper and I just kind of pull it out. But it's always about love. I want people to know that. Nothing, sometimes people say, well, what if something comes out? No, it's always about love and it's always the highest vibration. So if the highest vibration of you on that day is a portrait of your higher self, that will come through. If the highest vibration for you during that time is of your spirit guide, the guide that's guiding you, that will come through. And I'm guided to share something with you that was the highest vibration for our family. That their dog had made the transition. The family was very upset. They came to me not knowing why, and their dog came through and they have a portrait of their dog in spirit. And the children were absolutely sobbing. The dog, I can't even talk about it. The dog just wanted them to know that he was fine, that he went on to talk about his life with them. And it was phenomenally healing for this family to have that. So I'm unaware of what's going to happen for you. I just know it will be beautiful. And whatever is happening for you at that time, that is the highest form of healing and the highest form of love.
Yes, beautiful. Thank you for that. That is a very cool, innovative portrait. So awesome. Yes, so we were sharing about our higher self and stories of our higher self connection. If anyone has those, please share those in our box. This is a QCTV episode, and we have an after party immediately following this. We're on Zoom. Cheryl and I are going to stay here on Zoom. You guys can come in. This is where we laugh, ask, and share. And you can get that with our New Earth membership. You can do our membership where you come into all our QCTV after parties, or you can do a single ticket to come in today. Or if you purchase any of the items in Cheryl's special offer, it includes a ticket to come into our after party. And again, that's space for us to be in our like-hearted community and to see each other and just share and to see other experiences as well. And we do it here in video. So we love that and we invite you guys in. So that's, again, on this page, you'll see the information for that special offer. So Cheryl, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure.
you've given us
Absolutely.
the yes, so you've given us the overview and the rundown of how we channel, and that's beautiful. That's just a little overview, but we're going to see you channel the Syria family, and we've got 5 or 10 minutes here for their message, and then you'll come back and we can start our after party. But thank you. Should we ask a question right now? Should I give the should we just, what the group energy is so far? So can we just do that?
Sure.
Yeah.
Whatever you would like. We can let them tune in. You can ask them a question, whatever you would like.
Thank you. All right. So we'll let you bring forth the beings
Okay.
of light.
All right. Give me just a few seconds here. All right. Yes, 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 yes. Greetings, 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 our friends. Greetings indeed. We are Syria family. We are very pleased to be here to share with you, to spend this body of time with you in this extraordinarily exciting time upon your planet, where change seems to be the medicine of the day. My oh my, as you all ride this crest, we invite you, has already been discussed. We're going to go into that. We're going to encourage you. The idea of the higher self can become the norm in the new reality. You are in that phase of humanity of reviewing your past. You are doing it collectively. You are doing it globally. You are doing it personally. You are looking at it is right in front of your face, so to speak, as you are homebound in that way. You're looking at what did not work and what did. And we invite you to add to that what will work. What did not work, what will work as you create your future to be exactly how you want it. We ask you again to take the languages. What does peace on earth look like to you, and to be in that energy now? Not let it be just a phrase that's in vogue in that way, but allow it to be, what does peace really look like? What does healing really look like? Does that mean that there is no illnesses on planet Earth? Yes, I like that one. I'm going to dream that in. I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to be the one that starts that conversation. And when we have those that protect us, those that you call to be a police force, how can we change that amalgamation to make it as those that protect us, those that guide us in that way, those that we can call upon? And so as you begin to talk about that, you get together with small groups, those of like mind that have the same kind of information, have the same kind of ideas, and talk about it, to breathe the idea of light and that reality into your future. And that future we're talking about is the future tomorrow or the future next week. Time is happening incredibly fast upon your planet. And we've talked about it before, that there's really no time at all. And you are beginning to realize that, well, maybe they were right. There really is no time. And you're looking at your clocks, you're looking at your telephones and saying, well, where did the day go? It is already nighttime. Where did the day go? And that's because there is no time. You made it up here. You created it here. There is only space. And you fill that space with as much love as you can. So the idea, the topic today is on channeling, yes? The topic today is on the idea of the higher self. And what a delicious one it is. And as our friends look forward to us coming to chat with you, we look forward in our reality as well. And how does that work, you ask? Syria family, how does that work? Well, we project ourselves here. You might say we dream ourselves here. And we dream about Sheryl. And we dream that we are speaking through her. And in that way, she goes on a very deep lullaby, which is our ticket, which is our entryway. And then we get to come to speak with you, to love with you. We never come to talk directly at you. No, not at all. We are very interested in your point of view as well. You are human beings, friends. And you are loved more than you can imagine. You are loved throughout the universe. You are not looked at as some little beings over there cast on planet Earth. No, not at all. You are revered. And you are revered because you are the light. And you have chosen to come to Earth for a moment, a body of time, to forget about that light, so that when you remember who you are, your light shines through the galaxy, and it is a birth of consciousness again. And so we come to remind you of your extraordinary power, your extraordinary love, and your extraordinary ability to love one another. And so when you come to this great change, this cataclysmic change in your reality, have love be the highest resonance. Seek for love as your medicine. Seek for love as how can you love others at work, even when there is dismay. And love will be the answer. You will surprise those in which there has been controversy, in which there has been anger. And you replace with love. You be the initiator. And so we love you. And as we always say, when you've had enough, we have even more. We are delighted to be the liaison, to bring friends of the non-physical to meet with you on planet Earth. And we tell you right now, they are very excited about as well. And so if you are one that is feeling that you are excited to meet other beings, then perhaps that is your calling. Do not deny yourself the right. And so all eyes are on planet Earth. We love you. All right, we know that the body of time was just for a short one, but would you like for us to address anything else?
Thank you, Syria family. You are telepathic. You addressed the question that I had, and it is so beautiful. Simply love will be the answer. And so New Earth solutions, New Earth solutions. Can you share with us what each of us can do as we wrap up our questions with you to really come into the New Earth solutions that you mentioned a little bit in your message?
Yes, all right. Well, you have an Earth that is changing. You call it climate change. And you see your weather patterns changing, and the coldest of regions getting colder, and the hottest of regions getting hotter. We invite you to remember that you have a symbiotic relationship with your Earth. How do you activate this, you ask? A very simple methodology would be, friends, is to walk barefoot on your Earth. That is a simple, and we love to give simple answers. We don't want to complicate it for you. It's easy. Take your shoes off and walk on Earth and allow yourself to receive. Yes, say it out loud. I want to be active in the healing, in the remedy of healing the waters. I want to be active in maintaining these glyphs. I don't know how to do it, but I'm going to find out in non-conventional ways. Non-conventional ways is the way of the future. That's why the world is crumbling as you know it. But for the first time in history, friends, you're rebuilding it at the same time. So it's beautiful. And so as the structures crumble, allow yourself to feel those feelings. And then know that you could be one. You could be one. Anyone listening here, you could be one that receives the insight on how to rebuild and give back to the earth. Now, she is plentiful and wants to be plentiful. And we want for you to know your earth is not angry. We know that you hear a different story, that the earth is reacting to you and she's angry. She's releasing a little bit of energy, all right? A little bit of stored energy, just like you do, yes? Just like you do when you've been hanging on to something for a long time and then you have a release. Doesn't really change who you are, you just had a release. And so there's a little bit of rock and roll going on right now as she releases in some of the turbulence, but she's not angry at you. That's important for you to know. No one's angry with you, except for you with yourself. The gods, the higher beings, whatever that you want to call them, the archetypes in the universe are not looking down at you being angry. No, not at all. And the earth that you live is not angry with you. But you might want to consider the idea, am I angry with myself? And if so, that can be released as well. So you are loved. You have a great deal of, let's say, companions around. And your earth is one of them. You see, your earth could have done it alone. She could have been a planet and had waters and streams and mountains and air and fire. But she wanted you. And so the idea of people would come here. Humans were called. And it would be a wonderful landscape of male and female, and plants and animals, and all the diversity, in all the forms of humanity. And because you are created beings, and you have an extraordinary sense of will, we might add, you came here and you created the way that you wanted. Yes, you love the idea of experiments. Well, let's put this and this together and see what happens. Oh, that didn't work. We didn't like that. Oh, this one we do. And so right now, in this extraordinary time of reevaluation, you're looking at ourselves saying, what? Maybe we don't want that one, but we'll take this one. So you haven't done anything wrong. It's part of all that is. And it will help you in an immense way to release yourself of that judgment. Well, she is not judging you at all. Now your earth is growing just as you are. And yes, she has a vision for herself, just as you do. And so we would invite you to remember another ally that you have is the earth herself. Now, yes, it's known that there's a common day of the tree huggers, etc. And if you like to do that, we'll encourage you to do that. But also there's the idea of just going out and saying, I recognize you. I recognize the wind. I recognize the tree. I recognize the allies of the earth, the sun and the moon, where they are indeed allies in dance and consciousness together. And so love your earth. Do not feel guilty. She is not judging you. Perhaps you recognize the beautiful tree that creates shade for you. The food that sustains you. The rain that comes to wash. And just by the mere acknowledgement, you can make a connection and make a difference in the life of earth, in which you are part of the life of earth, for she dreamed you. Now, many will say you are here by invitation. You are not. You are part of her dream. Your earth knows the day that you were born, and she will know the day that you depart. So live each day as if it's your last, knowing in parentheses that it's not, but relish each day. For it can be, when you leave this plane of reality, you will look back in such wonderment and such awe. And many of you will want to come back because it's an extraordinary energy on earth. And you are part of a narrative. So we love you. We love you indeed. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, and it infuses us with hope and the love of nature and the desire to connect with Earth so deeply. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes, of course. Thank you for this wonderful electronic platform that sends out a frequency far more than any of you realize. And so these ways that you are all connecting that seem a little strange just on the commuter, when are we going to begin to touch each other again? When you do, it will be electrifying. And you will recognize that indeed you are energy. Indeed, you are energy.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Syria family.
Exciting indeed. We are delighted again to have this body of time. So we are Syria family. We will sign off if nothing else.
Thank you.
All right, so we are signing off. We are concluding then. We are pulling out of the channel's electrical field, and she is coming back. She's already starting to come back a little bit. So we will say, we love you, as we've already said, we love you, we love you, we love you. And when you've had enough, we have even more. Good day, good night, good evening, our Syria family. Hello.
That was a beautiful message from the Syria family,
Oh,
and
good.
very wonderful to watch the entire process. So, thank you, Cheryl, for doing that here on this video stream.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that some who would learn to channel would have that hesitancy, but that's part of the pain and the stories and the baggage that you say we work on to get out of our own way for that.
Growth is beautiful.
Yeah,
Um, it really is. We we want to look at the opportunity to grow. Imagine saying, if someone has something, a pain or a thought process that they've just carried around, that it's just become part of the norm. Imagine that not being there and something beautiful being replaced. And that's really what healing is. You don't have to stay in those places long. Really, quite the contrary, very short. And you go to not stay there to relive it. You go to replace. To I can't speak enough about the inner child. I can't speak enough about transforming these things. And if anybody's listening and think that I've had any sort of charmed life, listen again. But that's not true. I have worked through many, 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 many things and thought some things I would take to the grave. And I am speaking from truth that uh, it's like, taking a plastic bat, for example, never, anything that strong, and cracking a reality and seeing something different in that reality. Really, through any kind of great pain or trauma, there's always really a gift there. And that's just not metaphysical talk. It just feels better to heal. If something happened to someone and they're told, well, you just need to forgive, nothing could be more annoying to someone that's been traumatized to hear you just need to forgive. That's not it. Let's do what we can for you. You're the one that's been traumatized. And there's no law in the book that says you have to love and accept the other person. But you can say to the other person, be happy, but go away. You really can say that. I wish you happiness and joy, but there's my reality, there's no room for you. And then we work on or play with, because I don't want people to think it has to be some big drudgery thing, but we play with these wonderful feelings. If there was a parent that didn't love a child, or a parent, and there's a lot of that, a parent that made the child feel this way, we go into those realities, those child realities, and give the child the love that she or he did not have. Okay, parent, you just stand over there in the corner when we bring in something else.
beautiful healing that our world is doing on a collective level on so many topics. And so I love the new earth solutions, this higher self connection with the inspiration that comes in with the new creations, these new things. What didn't work in the past and what will work as we create the future. This is where dreaming new earth and these new earth solutions is where all of us are a bridge, that bridge to new earth, to get wildly creative with those ideas and to share them. Like we said, we could be the ones, the Syria family said, we could be the ones that receive this insight, yet we have to share it with the world as well. And so we encourage everyone to start sharing.
Yeah.
And it's more than, I mean, it's in the mainstream typical ways, like in your local newspapers, letters to the editor. Please, please share your voice. What we're finding now is people are open to this. People are open.
Yeah,
Change is happening very fast, as the Syria family reminded us. And so when we do this, and we're actually seeding our local communities with these fresh ideas, and so they see it in print, they can also feel it, right? I think we can all feel solutions that come up and we're like, wait, I had that idea. And then you see it somewhere out in the
exactly,
collective, right?
exactly. Or don't dismiss it. If something comes in, no matter how wild and strange it is, let it be wild and strange. Maybe that's, maybe that kind of uniqueness, let's not judge it, wild and strange. Oh, that's really unique. Let's use it. You know,
Yes.
crystals and crystal healing. And it was extraordinary when the Swiss brought quartz into the watches, what, 20 or 25 years ago. Now it's mainstream. Why can't we put a quartz crystal and use it as a filter in our watering system right in our very own home? Well, if you've got that idea, do it. Some people do. They'll cleanse their water before that they drink it. Let's start doing these things.
Yes. And share it with everyone. Yes, absolutely. Some of the things we've talked about are like a bed for every human, right? The elimination of poverty. Wouldn't that be beautiful? We dream that. Little things like, why are there not plants on airplanes? Hello? That's almost like a no-brainer. And this is like such a crazy, silly idea in a way. But as you said, we have to honor these ideas. And
But I love that idea because it creates balance too. Not only is it cleaning the air, but it creates balance. How unique is that to be flying up in the air and on those, what are arms chairs, they have like a little plant that pops up.
why do we not have that? So, whoever is listening, write your local letters to the editor, please.
Right, as
We don't.
United and American are changing, and I just read some article that American what is now in partnership with a JetBlue.
Oh,
Anyway, they merge, so it's a perfect time to get the ideas out there.
yes, it is a
I
perfect
love
time.
that the plan.
The way that educators interact with children in the school level, that's all up for change. Just get wildly creative. Um, it's like when we have office, like what if, okay, I'm being vocal here, but what if, in my town, if there's two Bronco Sundays, I'm in Colorado. In the old world, the Bronco Sundays, two Bronco Sundays would allow a neighborhood, if people took that money instead of going to a Bronco game and we put it into our own community for like a nature preserve, where the community's buying up the land to demolish the public building, the office building that's now going to be just there sitting empty, because people are recognizing open space and trails and waterways more. So these are the ideas for us to get creative on
That's
and
right.
seed in the
That's right.
public.
Yeah. I love that one. And exactly. That can be done.
That can be done.
Instead of working in offices, why not working in, I had someone tell me that she turned her office into a jungle. And I love that.
Her office into a jungle. What, she just brought in lots of plants or?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. We have been inspired by the Syria family as well. And that was a beautiful message today. And
Okay.
Sheryl, I want to thank you, thank you, thank you for our time today. This was
Oh,
amazing.
I'm so honored to be back on your show. It's a real treat.
It's a real